Good day, everyone, and a warm welcome to our system navigation and support webinar. It's great that you can join, and I'm sure normally in the first few minutes, more people join. As you would have noticed that we are recording the session, so those of you that know of somebody that's also interested in learning more about the Shadowmatch system, the recording will be available on the Shadowmatch calendar tomorrow. And then you can share the link to the recording with anyone that you think might be interested, and maybe somebody in your organization that's not able to attend today's session. My name's Lizette de Villiers. I'll be the host today, and I will shortly hand to Suzanne Conradi. She's the general manager at Shadowmatch, and she will be taking you on the journey through the system and later on also address questions that you might have. Keep in mind that we will allow for some questions towards the end of the session. This is for you as a user to also get some clarity on things that you might be struggling with regards to the usage of the system and things that you might not be 100% clear on. So towards the end of the session, I will allow you to unmute your microphone, enable that setting, and then you can ask your questions live, and we will answer as far as possible, and we will help you to the best of our ability. Today's agenda, Suzanne will share with you. You're welcome to make use of the chat functionality. So if during the course of the presentation, there's something that you really want to ask at that specific point, you're welcome to make use of the chat. I will be manning the chat. I will answer your questions. And if I do think that it's necessary, that it's something that we need to also make part of the recording, I will position your question before we then open the floor for questions from your side. I think from my side, Suzanne, this is all. If there's anything else, then I will add that when you hand back to me at the end. Please enjoy, most importantly, enjoy the session, and over to you. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much, Lizette, for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. It's lovely to spend time with you as always. Today, we'll be doing the same. We'll be working in a fictitious company with fictitious data. But remember, as always, you will be able to do everything I do live on your side, real time with the data on your system. So good news for you. So today's session has actually an interesting start point. We sent out a newsletter in March. So we have newsletters that go out every second month. So watch out for the next newsletter coming soon. And in the newsletter, we introduced something new. We introduced a quiz for system users specifically. So this quiz is open to anybody that knows the Shadowmatch system, and there's a fun element to it. The user that gets the most correct answers in the quiz, and if there are more than one users that have the correct answers, we randomly select someone and they win a prize. So we'll be doing these quizzes throughout the year in our newsletters, and then at the end, the user that has the best points actually then receives a bonus prize to this. But why we also introduced this quiz is to gather information from our users to see what are they struggling with, what do they know, what don't they know, what can we make easier on the system. So it's sort of a dual purpose, fun for the users, and then valuable insight for us. So if you've missed the newsletter, I'll quickly just show you where you can find it. If you go to our information website, to shadowmatch.com, you'll find it under the resources tab at the top. You'll see the bottom one is newsletters. There's always also a link at the very bottom of the page to newsletters. And I'm currently just opening up the last one, the latest one that went out, the March newsletter. And then you'll see it was introduced here at the top of the quiz, and it said exciting news of the month and a skills quiz. Okay, so that's just a long introduction to what is the information we're going to cover today. It was all of the questions that was asked in the skills quiz, and I'm going to look at the ones first that the users struggled the most with. Good news, some of the users got them all right, so it's good to see there was a good distribution, but we want to make sure everybody is comfortable with all of the content. So what we'll be discussing today, let me just open up the slide, is the following few things. So we've already discussed the newsletter quiz. These topics are the ones that stemmed out of the question. So we'll first look at the recruitment specification, where to find it, how to set it up, what is it, everything around the recruitment specification. Then we'll take a look at the personal portal. What is it? What can I find? What is the value for me as an individual there? What can I find? What do I not find on the personal portal? Then we'll just take a look at the shadow match worksheet, exactly what it measures and where does it fall into the space of assessment. And then we'll look at a bulk option of sending worksheets on the system, how quick and easy that is to find. And then just the last quick topic there on the multiple recommended PDPs that's now available on the export. Okay, so let's jump in. I'm going to switch back to the system. And as we said, we're working in the fictitious company. And the first thing we want to take a look at is the recruitment specification. Now, this is actually an amazing, valuable resource that you can make part of any recruitment initiative that is driven within the organization. It's a way to quick and simply gather a lot of important information in a very easy to use document to make part of the recruitment advertisement. If you're using a recruitment agency, you're welcome to share it with them, or just for your internal know-how to say what is critical in this role behavioral wise. The question that was asked in the quiz was, can shadow match create a behavioral job specification? Then there was a list of options, yes, no, and the answer is actually yes. Yes, we can create a behavioral job specification. It's very easy. We call it the recruitment specification. Okay, where do you find it? I'm logged into the system. I'm going to go to a specific department. As you know, you create your department structures according to your organogram. This is just an example, finance, sales, etc. But obviously, this should be the roles reflected in your organization. For today, let's click on finance. And now you'll see it's actually one of the main options that I can easily find. The first option is I can either click in my left main menu on the recruitment specification option there, or I can open up my top menu, and if I'm on the shadow match, I can click on recruitment. So two options, it takes me to the same setting, your preference of the navigation of your menus. If you click on this, it opens up this page. Now, obviously, I'm using one that hasn't been set up. The moment the recruitment specification has been created, you'll find it here. You'll find the full summary here. Now, the recruitment specification is informed by the benchmark for this role. If you're not comfortable with benchmarks, let's just quickly touch on that. A benchmark is a reflection of what are the specific habit intensities needed for success in this specific role. So in 2023, after COVID, in your current structure, when you have person A as the manager and you're at 3 Road 1, 2, 3, 4 is your address, in this current dynamic where you are, who are the current top performers in that specific role? All that needs to happen is they complete the shadow match worksheet and you tell the system, please mark them as benchmark individuals, and they will contribute to your shadow match benchmark. The system does the rest. It checks the statistic validity of those benchmarks or of those habit graphs to see what are the habits that are definitely needed for success in that specific role. Okay, so this happens beforehand. You create your benchmark. The moment your benchmark is ready, you can easily request the recruitment specification. Why is the benchmark needed? The benchmark creates the context for you to say, but what are the actual habits that are critical in this environment? How does this context work? What works to functional towards success? So learn from your own top performers in the environment. So that's why it's needed. You'll see once it's created how the benchmark informs the document. Let's go and set it up. So the system gives me a quick description there. You're welcome to read it when you set it up the first time. And then you just have to complete the details it's asked. So we're working in finance, and now it's asking us for the position. Let's just, for argument's sake, accountant. Okay, so we're recruiting for an accountant role. The manager is Annie Anderson. Great. And then you can give the job description, the list of tasks. For today, I'm just going to say task 1, task 2, just to make it quick and easy. Obviously, this can then be informed by the specific tasks that are applicable for this role. The more specific, the better. So if you know this is an accountant specifically working with these specific processes in your organization, give as much detail there as you would like to make this as comprehensive as you prefer. Then you see there's an option where the system says, email me if shadow changes. So now it's referring to our shadow or our benchmark. The reason it's saying this is if the shadow changes significantly, the recruitment specification will need to be regenerated. So basically what it's saying here is, remember, you're working in a dynamic environment. You know how quickly things can change. So you know how important it is to make sure your benchmarks are up to date. You're not recruiting with benchmark data from 5 years ago when your company was in a completely different space. It's your current benchmarks. Good news is the system will prompt you and remind you. So you don't need to remember this off heart, but just remember why it's saying you there. So I'm just going to say, select that option, and then you don't have to worry about it. Then you know, okay, great. And you put in the notification email. I'm going to put in my email address here just for the demo. Great. Okay. All I actually captured is the jobs role, the manager's detail, and the tasks. That's all you actually need to capture. And then the moment you say create, now the system grabs all of the information from the benchmark and it gives you it and gives it to you in this one page here. Now you can easily download this by using the download option here. So if you download, it's going to download it for you in a PDF document. Welcome to share that or email it to whoever you need to share it. But let's take a look at the detail. It's a quick summary of what you captured, the introduction, and then obviously the job description tasks here will be the information you put into the system. And now it says the critical habits for this job. It says for the job, the following were identified as critical habits and need to be present in the behavior of the candidate in order to ensure success in the job. So you've taken a look at what works in the environment, and the system gives you that information to say, make sure this is part of the setup. This is the individuals they're looking at has these specific habits prevalent in their own unique habits. Why is this important? Because if their habits align with the benchmark or the context that you're recruiting for, the chances of them being successful is so much higher. So you're setting them up for success instead of setting them up for failure. So what you expect of them and what they naturally want to do aligns perfectly, and it's a better fit. The training goes quicker. It's a long-term sustainable fit. Okay, but back to our screen, you'll see then obviously this would look different for each unique benchmark. So for this example, it's these specific habits, propensity to earn, resilience, explaining everything there. And then it also gives you at the bottom just a quick nudge there to say, remember the following habits should preferably not be prominent. So in other words, if this habit for the individual is embedded to a strong extent, it might be a conflict of the context in that environment. And then the following attitude should not be displayed. So quick attitude graph there shown. Everything supported by the information on the benchmark. Okay, so that's your recruitment specification. It's actually very quick and easy to find. You simply click on the recruitment specification, you complete the job details, and then you have that function on the system for you to use as needed. Download it, make it part of your recruitment process, and make sure it's updated as your benchmarks update. Okay, so that answers the question, can Shadow Match create a behavioral job specification? Yes, it can, and this is how you can do it on the system. Now, the second question to the quiz was, the question of Shadow Match personal portal is a virtual space that belongs to an individual only. Which of the following is not on the personal portal? Then there was a list of functions that was on the portal or not on the portal. So the personal portal is something that you can find the moment you've completed the Shadow Match worksheet. So any individual that completed the worksheet has access to this, and then once they completed the worksheet, they can use that as they need. Sorry, I'm just logging in whilst we're talking. So whenever you want to access it, you can. You simply go back to the Shadow Match website. I'll show you in a moment where you can find it. And then everything for your personal resources are there. Okay, let's just find my quick individual. I'm just opening up a fictitious individual's personal portal that you can see what it looks like. I don't want to share any actual information on the screen. Off we go. And almost logged in. There we go. Okay. Now I can share my portal, my screen again with you. Sorry for the quick delay. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm in a personal portal. As you see, a fictitious individual, Annie Anderson. How did Annie access her portal? By going to the login screen, shadowmatch.co.za, putting in her unique email address, her personal email address, and then completing the password she captured upon completion of the worksheet. The moment she completed her personal details, she's on a personal portal. Now, good news, this is mobile friendly as well. So you can access it on your phone at any time or on a device of your preference. So the personal portal has everything for an individual. This has nothing to do with the organization or entity they completed the worksheet in. Now, obviously, our current audience, you probably all are Shadowmatch system users working with the data and the system engine. So you work with the integrated data, the benchmark, the teams, all of those things. But each individual that completes the worksheet also has value and also has access to amazing resources for them personally. And as the name implies, a personal portal, it's personally for them. So this individual can quickly access a lot of resources. They have a quick video that explains the Shadowmatch worksheet to them. They can look at all of their results, request more reports. We'll take a look at this in detail now. Just want to scroll down a bit and see they have access to these results interpretation videos. These videos are also sent upon the completion worksheet. When they get the results, they have access to the videos. But these videos explain anything and everything they need to know about how do I interpret my own results. Now, dear participants, you know, this is one of the biggest values of Shadowmatch is the individual completing the worksheet receives their own feedback. And it's written in a way that they can understand. Many of us have gone through processes of assessments where you never get feedback and you wonder, what was my result? Did I pass? Did I fail? With Shadowmatch, you get the results. And as you know, you don't pass or fail. It's your unique habit. So on your portal, you have access to your profile, your reports, everything to do with your own results. So you'll see the moment I clicked on reports, I can now look at my personal feedback reports or all of the other reports. My personal feedback report is nice and interactive. So if I click on a specific habit, it gives me that specific definition and explanation about my own habit of self-motivation. What does it mean and how do I engage this habit positively and every day? It's nice and interactive, all of the definitions, and see what are the categories. I can switch the view to see the same results just in a different view. This is a stretch graph there. So everything nice and interactive. And then the rest of the detail to the bottom. So that's my personal feedback report, and click and read what I need to read. Now I can request different reports. So if this report has not been requested from the organization side, the individual has the option to purchase this. So you'll see there's a shopping cart there where you can include any reports you want to add to it. If it's been requested by the organization, it's already open on the portal. So for the demo one, it's already open. So the career report has been requested on behalf of this individual by the organization. The career report then informs the individual about their unique career journey. So it's informed by their personal unique habits, and it gives them great insight into what is the optimal specific day-to-day things that their career journey should entail. Now, this can be requested in any phase of your career journey. So be it you start off, you just finished school, what should you do? It can be, what should I do after school? What should I do after studying? What should I do whilst I'm in a career? I'm currently in a specific role, but it's not optimal. I want to go to that next level. Or it's a complete new career change. Or I've just retired, but I want to do something else after retirement. So literally any phase of your career journey, you can request this report, and it informs you with practical, valuable information. So if you will just take a quick look, a lot of detail around the future world of work to make sure that the career is a sustainable career that's still going to be relevant. And then it has specific topics that focuses on the unique individual's needs. So something like the broad focus of the career, there's always a nice informative video explaining that concept in detail. And then you have the detail of that specific individual. So just as an example here, the broad focus of this individual's career, there's 3 graphs: working with people, working with objects and tasks, working with ideas. And these graphs show the unique balance in it, where it should be. The rest of the detail in the graph informs them. Now, unfortunately, we don't have time to go through every aspect of the report today in detail. You're welcome to go and request your own career report if you've never seen this report, but it's an amazing report guiding that individual for their unique career journey. And then at the bottom, it also gives them unique tips about their specific habits that need to be present in their career journey. So that's your career report. You can also then request a study report. The same story, it can either be requested by the organization. If it's not applicable there, the individual can request it on their personal portal. This then guides the individual on the specific study methods that align with their unique habits the best. So it gives them the detail, how do you study for specific subjects, working with mathematics and all of those type of subjects. And then it gives them a specific study method, a complete video explaining that, the detail of it, and then a second method as well, linking to their unique habits. And then at the bottom, specific tips for their habits. Okay, so study method, obviously applicable for individuals studying. So anybody in school, any students or any adults doing part-time study, if they might be a working adult. Okay, great. So all of my personal aspects of my life, I have resources on my personal portal that can support it. Look at the career report, the study report, and your personal report. What about your relationships? Now, the good news is you have access to various relationship reports, and this is on the personal portal for you to request at any time. And by requesting these reports, you extend the value of Sharamach to the significant others in your life. Well, is applicable in that specific relationship. You'll see there's work, friendship, family, love, marriage, staying together, parent-child, and teacher-student. So a host of various relationship types, and you can request it at any time, but just requesting the report and completing the details of the other individual in the relationship. So let's say it's with your brother, you request the family report, complete their details, and they will receive that report. If they've completed the Sharamach worksheet before, they need to give consent to request the report. Both of their parties give consent, and you have the report in your inbox as well as on your portal. If they've not completed the worksheet before, they get a link to the Sharamach worksheet with an option to then purchase their own personal report, and you then have access to both of you have access to the relationship report. So amazing reports guiding that specific relationship, focusing on how are the habits of the two individuals similar, different, and very different in the capacity of that relationship, and how to positively engage those relationships. So great resource for the individual. And then the last one on the list for today on the personal portal is then the personal development. So if through this journey, the individual looked at their reports and they decided to embark on a development of a specific habit, they have access to a personal development program at any time. You'll see all 20 of the programs are listed here. That's one program for each of the habits measured by the Sharamach worksheet, as well as a program for time management. These programs are experiential learning programs, meaning it's activities that you need to do. It's not a classroom setup, but the programs are broken up into phases, and in each phase you do something, do something, do something, do something, until you actually learn that specific habit and make that pattern fitter. So amazing programs that actually work if the individual wants to develop these specific habits. Now, good news, a lot of these resources also link to the Sharamach coaching platform. So if you want to do this process with the guidance of a professional coach, you're welcome to look at the coaching platform. Today, we're just focusing on the Sharamach main system, so I'm not going to go into the detail there, but this is then for the personal portal, all of the resources the individual has. Okay, great. That sums up our second topic. Now let's take a look at the next question from the Sharamach quiz in the newsletter. The quiz or the question was, Sharamach is a psychometric test, a personality test, an aptitude test, an interest questionnaire, or none of the above. So if you work with the Sharamach worksheet, you would have known it's none of the above. We do not fall into the space of psychometric test, personality test, aptitude test, or interest questionnaires. The Sharamach worksheet is a worksheet that measures the habits of the individual or the behavioral patterns in their unique preference. So I want to show you a video that explains where Sharamach falls into the assessment space. Where you can find this is on the Sharamach information website, sharamach.com. And again, we go to the resources tab, but we go to the frequently asked questions page specifically. You'll see it's the second video on the list, and it explains how shadow match falls into the space of the entire assessment space. So I'm going to share the video in a moment. You can access this at any time. You're welcome to share it if someone else in your organization has questions around the assessment. As you see, it's a public video there. But this would answer that question if you were curious, okay, but how does it fit into personality? Does it measure this? What does it measure? So let's take a look. Lizette, if you could just show me if the sound is working once it starts.
I want to explain how to approach different questionnaires, tests, and worksheets used in search of a better understanding of people. Let's start with what Shadow Match does. Shadow Match measures habits. The system is based on the psychology of behaviorism and neuropsychology. The most basic principle is that behavior is determined by neurons in the brain. Neurons control everything we do. The neurons learn by building memory patterns as a result of repetition and high-impact single events. All our behaviors are pattern-based. Shadow Match measures a selection of measurable patterns or habits. Shadow Match is not a personality test. Most personality tests, on the other hand, are based on a psychoanalytic approach to understanding personality. Personality could be described as the unique combination of characteristics that make up the individual's identity. There are many tests in support of a better understanding of people. For example, career interest questionnaires and aptitude tests. Many of these tests are embedded in cognitive psychology. The two most important aspects to keep in mind when asking what the similarities and differences amongst assessments are the following. Firstly, to determine the school of thought that the specific test is based on, be it behaviorism, neuropsychology, psychoanalysis, cognitive psychology, development, or social psychology. The second important aspect to remember is that the questionnaires have different purposes. This could be explained with a simple example. If a pilot needs to go for his routine medical checkup, his weight, blood pressure, eyesight, and hearing would be measured and tested. This will be tested on the same person for the same job. Fact is that these tests have nothing to do with each other. They measure completely different aspects of the individual's fitness for the job as a pilot. It is therefore important to determine what needs to be measured for what job and how will it be applicable to the success of an individual in a specific job. People do their work by acting according to unique behavioral patterns or habits embedded in the brain. For success in the workplace, Shadow Match provides critical information to everybody involved in the recruitment and employment process with specific reference to behavior. Shadow Match measures and compares habits.
Okay, as you saw, it's quite complex information shown in a very effective way. So that explains how Shadow Match fits into the assessment space, but the long and the short of it is Shadow Match is a worksheet that measures your habits. It's not a test that you can pass or fail. It's not a personality test. It's a habit. It's a worksheet that specifically measures your unique behavioral patterns. If you're curious about this, hopefully everyone on the screen has completed their own Shadow Match worksheet, but you're welcome to complete your own worksheet to see what your unique result would be. Okay, that concludes the question of what is the Shadow Match worksheet. Now, the next question in the quiz was around how to send large worksheet invitation numbers. So the question was, how can a user send many worksheet invitations to many individuals without typing the data one by one into the system? So there was a list of options and then you can choose from it. But once again, the good news is there's a very nice and easy option on the system to work with large numbers. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you might have seen that, or you might work with a specific number of individuals in your organization, but the system was built with large numbers in mind. So thousands and thousands of individuals can complete the worksheet at the same time. So if you work in a large organization like this, be at ease to know that it can easily be done on the system. So let's log in. I'm just going to switch to a different company. I'm going to use the sandbox environment for this one, the nice, quick and easy testing sandbox playing environment. Let me just log in. So this is a environment where the live system functionalities are there that you can go and play around. So if you don't have enough data on in your organization yet, in the sandbox environment, you can actually play around with it. I'm just going to show you this one function for our discussion, and it's the bulk send of worksheets. So as always, you go to the specific file or the specific department where you want the results to be in the end. So if you want the results to be in sales, go to sales and send the worksheets from there. Obviously, all of the other options, the same example. So let's go to finance, for example, again. And now I can either click on this option here, send invites or codes, or this option here, send invites or codes, takes me exactly to the same screen. Now I'll find a list of various options, and we ranked it so that the ones you need to access first is easily accessible with a quick button. So the first one is send invites to individuals. That's if you send to small numbers and you just complete the details there. So send invites to individuals, complete the name, surname, and email address, and off you go. Now, if you remember what the question was, that was the introduction to this section, it was, how do I send to large numbers without typing it in one by one? So if you need to send to 500 people at a stage, typing in name, surname, and email address can take quite a while. So that's why we developed the bulk send of individuals. So the second option here, I simply click on the button, and now it gives me two options. I can either choose a file on my device that informs this, so a spreadsheet with the list of names and emails, or I can open the spreadsheet viewer, your preference, which one you that works the best for you. Today, I'm going to use the open the spreadsheet viewer option. Now it gives me everything here I need to complete. And all I can do is I can actually read what it says, and it says you can copy and paste to the spreadsheet below. The spreadsheet can be edited and empty and. So it's a nice interactive spreadsheet. So all I need to go and do is find my list of data. So this is obviously fictitious data, but this would be a list of everybody you need to invite to do the shadow match worksheet. This is now just 9 on our example, but this can be any amount of individuals, 500, 700, 20, how many ever you need. So all I do is I simply go to this and I copy the data back to my spreadsheet viewer. I click in the block and I paste. So now it's included the name, surname, and email address. I just need to tell the system which column is which. So I say email is in column C, first name, column A, last name, column B. Now I can tell the system exactly what needs to happen with this worksheet invitation. What should happen? Is it a shadow match worksheet? Is it for applicants? Is it for benchmarks? Is it for employees? Let's say it's employees in my company. And then it gives me the language option, UK or US English. And then it gives me an option to be notified upon completion. Now, this option is your preference. If you keep it selected, every time an individual on this list completes the worksheet, you automatically receive a notification email in your inbox with the results. If you're working with large numbers and you don't want to be notified 700 times, then you can simply deselect it there. Really your preference. I would recommend keeping that option notified. Then you don't have to go in and check and wonder, have they completed or not? It's simply a notification email coming into your inbox. Then the last option here is an additional message that you can add. Now, good news is with the worksheet invitation, the individual receives everything they need to know about the worksheet. So you don't have to worry about positioning the worksheet, explaining that it measures habits or anything. That's all part of the invitation. There's a nice one-minute video explaining what the worksheet measures and a description. So it gives the individual all the information they need. If you want to add an additional message, something like, hi, this is what we discussed in our meeting, or a deadline, please complete by Friday, anything, you're welcome to add it there, and it will be part of the invitation email the individual receives. So you can complete the message there, and then let me just move my Zoom things here that I can actually see the screen. The moment you completed the message, then you can click submit, and off the worksheet invites will go. So I'll click submit, and then you'll see on this page is the summary of all the invitations that went out. So once I've completed the bulk send, I have a complete list here of when was it sent, to whom was it sent, and if I want to edit anything about this, or if I want to remind, I can simply work with this here. So let's say I want to select the following 2 individuals. I click on this button that became active, the actions for marked individuals. And now I can, for instance, send them a reminder or remove if it's not applicable anymore. Let's say in my long list, 2 individuals slipped in that shouldn't be there. I can remove it and it will be removed from the list, or obviously send the reminder if they need to be prompted again to complete the worksheet and the deadline is coming up and they haven't completed it. So that's your box in, short and sweet. In a nutshell, you simply add the results there on your spreadsheet viewer, and then you'll have a full summary here. And now all of these individuals receive the worksheet invitation. You can see the email address here, and you know when it was sent by who, created when, all of the detail on this. Okay. Let's go to our very last topic of today. So this was everything that was in the Shadowmatch quiz, most of the questions we've discussed today. There were a few other questions, but they were either completely correct by all of the individuals, or it is not specific for or not applicable to put it in a forum like this. The last function I just want to show you is a system enhancement that has recently been made live on the system. So in our PDP export or our data export option, it's now a available option to have all of your recommended PDPs in that export. Now, this might sound like Greek if you have no idea what I'm referring to. We addressed the export function in one of the previous webinars in detail, but I'll just show you a quick summary of it. You find it in your main menu here on the left side. If you go to the export data option, and you go to the Shadowmatch data option, there's an option to include recommended PDPs in your data export. Now, what this does is wherever an individual is compared to a benchmark, or any individuals, including a benchmark individual, the system will recommend specific PDPs. So a specific development path that would make sense for their unique habits. Remember, we took a quick look on that on the personal portal. So all of the unique habits, resilience, propensity to own, leadership, the system will guide you to say, but which of these PDPs would make the most sense for this specific individual to embark on. Now, usually there was just one recommended PDP in the export, but after a few requests we received from users, it's now all of the recommended PDPs on the export. So if you click on this here, let's just move my Zoom thing again. If you include that in the list and you click download, it'll download that export for you and you can open it up. Let's take a look at what we find in our file. You'll see in my list of export, a lot of detail, everything I captured there, but the one applicable to our discussion is this column here, recommended PDPs, and you'll see there's a list of various PDPs for each individual, the specific development pathway that would make the most sense for them. So see how quick and easy it is to develop a unique tailored development path for each individual in the organization. You can simply click on the export and there you have everything at the click of a button. Great, Lizette, that's everything from my side. I'm going to hand back over to you to see if there's any questions in the chat.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. That was insightful and a very good walk through the system. I think there were definitely some functionalities that some of the users don't use on a daily basis. So very insightful. Thanks. There's one question that I would like to highlight before we allow for other questions. There was a question with regards to benchmarking, and the person said that she doesn't quite grasp the whole benchmarking structure in Shadowmatch. So I'll give my 2 cents worth and then I'll hand to you so that you can maybe just add on or elaborate a bit on that. And then we will go into question mode for the rest of the floor. So Shadowmatch works with benchmarks. And the most important reason for that is if we work with a generic benchmark, then we are not that accurate. So a benchmark must be specific to the environment and to the uniqueness of the environment. A salesperson is not just a salesperson, is not just a salesperson. So if I work with a generic sales benchmark, then I'm not going to be accurate when I do placement and development of people, because people that sell laptops have different behavior patterns to people that sell motor cars, for example. So the principle is when you use Shadowmatch, you create your organizational structure, and then in each of your roles, and the more specific, the better, you choose your successful people. The successful people complete the Shadowmatch worksheet, And I will ask Suzanne to just show that and demonstrate that on the system as soon as I've discussed the principles. So this, you identify your successful people per role or per division or per department. They complete the shadow match worksheet, and the system then automatically takes the successful people because you have tagged them as benchmark individuals. And the moment they've completed the shadow match worksheet, the system creates your benchmark. So your benchmark gives you the habit profile of the successful people doing a specific job in a specific environment. Now, keep in mind, dear participants, that indirectly tells me what do successful people do in terms of their participation. What is the culture that the successful people create and that they feel comfortable with? What leadership style do my successful people like? So indirectly, by creating your benchmark, you actually measure your culture, your leadership style, the management style, the dynamics of the environment, because successful people become successful because the environment works for them. Whatever the environment entails, the culture, the leadership, and everything that I've listed, the look and feel, the location, working from home or working in an office. So the principle of a benchmark is we don't work generic, we work specific. We look at who is successful in the role, they complete shadow match, they become our benchmark. And if we now want to recruit people or develop people for success in that same environment, doing that same job, we measure the results of an individual to our benchmark. We compare the individual to the benchmark, and the system then highlights what is the propensity for this individual to be as successful as my successful people. And if the person is already an individual working in the environment, but not as successful as my top performers, the system will show me what are the development areas, where can I develop specific habits to help the individual to become more successful at this specific job. So the principle is we don't work with generic benchmarks. We work with specific behavioral pattern profiles, which we call a benchmark or a shadow, because that gives you what is needed behaviorally for success in this specific job, in this specific environment. There are a number of videos available on the shadowmatch.com website under the frequently asked questions section. There's a specific video about benchmark principles. And for the clients joining today, you're welcome to contact your Shadow Match consultant. They will be able to assist and to explain in detail. Let me hand back to Suzanne, maybe just to show the benchmark and a match to the benchmark on the system, and then we'll continue from there. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thanks, Azette, for that great explanation. Let's take a look at the detail on the system. So I'm just quickly opening up a unique result or a personal result for the individual. So the moment someone completes the Shadow Match worksheet, they receive a result like this, showing their unique behavioral patterns or their unique intensities of the habits. So this is the individual result. And when you create a benchmark, you're going to ask the system, but combine various individual results, unique individual results, but all top performers or successful individuals in our unique environment, and create the benchmark graph for me. Okay, so all you need to do is you mark them as benchmark individuals, and then they would be automatically contributing to the Shadow Match benchmark in that specific role. So I'm looking at the customer support benchmark in the specific company, and as the Z said, as specific as possible. So if you have various roles within customer support, create benchmarks for each unique role in that environment, that you can grab that unique context of success in that specific environment. So what I see on the screen here is a gray graph showing the unique intensities needed for success in this role. What informs this benchmark is the following individuals' unique habits. So they completed the Shadow Match worksheet. They have their personal portal, but on the system, you as system administrator added all of these individual results to this benchmark group. And now the system does this statistic validity check for you to say, you gave me 6 individuals that you said are successful in this role currently. Now it looks at the unique habits to say, but can I find that congruency to say these habits are definitely needed for success in this specific environment, or should some of the individuals rather be excluded? It's too diverse. We're only working, it gives you that detail. The good news for this benchmark is it shows you it's a perfect benchmark. So in other words, the benchmark individuals you included, there's a strong congruency or alignment in these behaviors. So we can find the benchmark detail at the top. Now, the good news is all of this happens at the back end of the system. So you don't have to worry about the statistic side of it. Just know that that's what this one green block here, it's actually a lot of things happening at the back end. What is on a benchmark? The benchmark has 5 specific aspects or categories. The first one is then your overall match. It would show all 19 of the habits measured by the Shadow Match worksheet. And this intensity here on the screen for each of the habits, this would look different for each different role. Specifically for customer support in the specific company, it, for instance, has a strong team inclination habit there, a very, very high graph there, and a softer individual inclination habit. And it can be completely the opposite for the next role in the environment, but this would show you the detail for this specific role. So the overall match, all of the habits taken into consideration. Out of this, it then highlights the 5 critical habits. So you'll see discipline is here, for instance, discipline is listed there again. This would highlight the 5 habits that are embedded to the strongest extent. So in other words, which of these patterns are the most prevalent in the environment? All of the benchmark individuals contributed this to the highest extent. It's the fit behavior in that environment, a lot of detail around this. And if you think about our webinar earlier, this would inform our recruitment specification. So a separate measurement here, your critical match, highlighting the 5 strongest habits for the entire benchmark group. The last aspect here is then your conceptual fitness. The conceptual fitness is how fit is this group of benchmark individuals to work with problems. Now, in the Shadow Match worksheet, there are many questions. Most of them don't have a correct or wrong answer. It's their individual's preference. But throughout the worksheet, there are specific questions that focus specifically on the fitness of that individual to work with problems. What your benchmark would show you is what is the fitness level needed for success in this environment. Now, a physical example always explains this quite effectively. So let's say to be successful in this environment, we need to run around the building 4 times a day. If you're going to bring me to the environment at an 8 out of 10 fitness level, I'm going to run around the building, say, yes, I'm warmed up, what's next? So I'm not going to be stimulated enough by the complexity of the problems in the environment. And obviously the opposite is also easy to understand. If I'm at a 1 out of 10 fitness level, I'm going to run around the building once, and then you're going to have to carry me to get the job done. The short and sweet of it is the system will guide you. So all of the roles aren't 10 out of 10 fitness levels. That's not the goal of a benchmark. The benchmark is informing you of the unique fitness level needed for success in this role. The next aspect is then your task efficiency. It's the efficiency of working with the Shadow Match worksheet. It takes your total time, the time that was spent on the conceptual questions, the score, the accuracy score of those conceptual questions, into an algorithm, and it gives you the task efficiency. This is the one that is back compared to everybody else on the Shadow Match database, all millions of the people that also needed to do exactly the same task, the Shadow Match worksheet. How quick did they work? How accurate did they work? Once again, all you need to know is the benchmark would give you the specific task efficiency needed for success in this specific environment, the pace that they work at. Yeah. Last aspect is then the attitude. It shows the approach to the environment. 4 quadrants above the line, involved, below the line, uninvolved, to the right, unaggressive, to the left, assertive or aggressive if it's more dominant. That gray shadow there would then show the dominance of each of these categories. So for them, the most dominant or most prevalent attitude category is category 1, involved in an unaggressive approach, and the second one that it would revert to is involved in an assertive or aggressive approach. Now, a lot of information on this, it basically maps the context of success in this environment. What can you do with this? Now you can say, but if I'm bringing someone new into this context, what can I expect? So this brings us to the match. So I can compare employees or applicants, so anybody working in that environment or anybody I'm considering bringing into that specific environment. And you'll see the system makes it quite easy for me. If I click on this button here, it ranks it from the closest alignment to that benchmark to the benchmark or to the individuals where the habits are a bit more diverse. What does a match like this look like? And this would then bring our entire discussion together. Is now you'll see a gray graph with an individual's graph laying over it. And this match would then show what is the chances of this individual finding an easy fit or a path of success in this unique environment. Now look at the detail. Do you see the purple and the orange and the red, the individual's unique preference of behaviors they show in their everyday life? You see how closely it aligns to what is expected of them in the role. So the chances of them finding a sustainable fit, finding success is very high because it's what they naturally and anyway want to do is going to be expected of them. No one needs to explain this to them. This is all of the subtle nuances happening every day, how we hand off, how we take ownership, how much we collaborate as teams, what is our leadership style, everything in our environment, how we engage. It's actually shown in that benchmark. And once we have the data, we can compare to see the fit to it. Okay, I just want to check our time. Is it? I don't think we have time to look at another match. Are we happy to end off the discussion here? Great. I hope that answers the question. Back to you, Liz.
Thanks, Suzanne. That was well explained. And I think if somebody needs more information, you're welcome to contact your consultant. I want to just elaborate on another question because I think it's important for the recording. The question is, when somebody when they redo their worksheet, what is the impact on the admin side on Shadow Match? So I'm going to share my screen if you don't mind. I'm just going to use my own results. So if somebody if somebody does the worksheet again, then obviously you can see all their sheets and you can choose which one you want to look at. So it's all available to the user. Obviously, the system will revert to the latest result because that's the most recent result and that's the result that you should be working with. What is the impact on the recommended PDPs? The system will give you the recommended PDPs for the result that you have selected when you do the data export, and I will show that in a moment. And then, yes, the HR person will have access to all the results. And then the last question was, if somebody redid the worksheet on their own, will those results show on your system? No, it won't, unless the individual makes it available for you to see. So how can they make it available? You need to send them a worksheet invitation from your company, and the system will then, because there's a recent result, prompt the individual in their personal portal to make that result available for you to see. So that happens, and that's already been on the system for a long time. So yes, it will not automatically pull through because the result will sit in the entity where they have received the invitation from. And if they did it on their own via the public Shadow Match reports page, it will not be available to anyone except to the individual. If you want it to be available in your entity, you'll have to invite the individual so that they make their results available for you to see in your company. I hope that explains. Allow me to just share my screen and show you. So this is just to show, I've got many results on the system and some of them are test results, but I've just gone into my own results in a company where my results are. And if you look at the date finished, there's a drop down and I can choose the result that I would like to look at. Now, obviously it will take each of these results and compare them to the benchmark in this department where I am currently at. If I want to compare it to a different benchmark, then obviously I can multi-match, or I can move the result or copy the result to one of my other entities or sub-entities to see how my result compares to that benchmark. Before I open the floor, I just want to ask Suzanne if there's anything that I've missed that she might want to add to that discussion. Great. It looks like Suzanne is also comfortable. Suzanne, thank you very much for all the information you shared and for all the questions. I think it was great questions. Just give me a moment.